Hey, and we're back. I'm Ryan McDowell, and I am joined for the 6th episode of the Fairly Awesome podcast by Nate Bushing.
What's up, guys?
Staughton Wade. And I'm not going to introduce Chris Keene.
Oh, I still love you.
We have to do this so they know our voices.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
So they can tell which one of us is the asshole. That guy.
It's definitely that guy that just talked.
What?
What? You?
Wait.
What? You?
Huh?
Huh? Me? You?
I think we've determined that the episodes just get more tangential at the beginning.
Do they get cosine?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's going to be a long one, Jed.
It is. We do have some interesting topics, though, and I think we're going to start
away
off...
from nerd math? Thanks, Nate.
Yes.
Trigonometry is fun.
I think we're going to start off with a topic that Chris brought to us about movie releases. I mean, right now we're looking at, it's pretty much been the same since movies have been released and then later released to some format that you would then buy, on VHS at one point, DVD, I suppose Laserdisc if anybody was into that.
Betamax, Minidisc.
Right. Anyway,
PSP.
and then now Blu-ray or whatever. It's been like a 6 month to, in some cases, almost a year before it's released for you to view it at home. Then if you missed it in theaters and you didn't pick it up at the dollar theater or whatever. Are they missing out now? I guess is that the thing? Is it broken? Are they missing out on potential sales right now when you're excited about it to just go ahead and release those extras and everything, and you're going to get an even better experience if you buy it at home than...
I think to a certain extent, there are people who will hold out for all the special features. There are some people that love the movie that don't give two shits about special features. And they would be more than willing to plunk down, $15 or $20 coming out of the theater to buy the movie right then and have it at home. What you're looking at, what you've got, I know one we like to argue about, Prometheus. Prometheus was released in
What
June.
have you just done?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Released in June of 2012. Released on DVD in October. 3 months prior was released on a handful of video-on-demand services, not like Xbox, PlayStation, iTunes, and Amazon was it. And then 3 weeks later, released on DVD, and then a month later, finally released on Netflix and Redbox, Netflix only DVD. It has still not come out to stream.
Wow.
So people that primarily get their content either from streaming or one of these side services had to wait forever for this movie to come out to even see it again. And this is, maybe it's still in a dollar theater, maybe it's not. Most of the time, I don't think movie theater or movie companies are making a lot of money off the dollar theaters anyway, since they're, late runs. You don't have a whole lot of people in. But looking at some of them that do a better job, Dread, which we talked about like an hour ago and said was a pretty awesome, underrated movie, came out. The DVD, video on demand, Netflix, everything came out 3 months later. And, available everywhere, so you could watch the movie again because you like the movie. So I'm saying is that these windows are stupid because that interim time, you're going to go to the theater, you want to see something awesome. Prometheus is definitely worth seeing in IMAX, probably, arguably 3D depending on how well you can see 3D, because it was still pretty friggin' awesome in 3D. But having to then wait 3 months to 4 months to see it again on, Blu-ray or DVD, not being able to immediately, go home and watch it again or take anything and watch it again without having to resort to just downloading a camera recorded version of it that the quality is shit that you would totally have paid good money for,
Had they released it
Had
earlier.
they released it earlier, you would have bought it. If you, like I said, yes, it's understandable that you want to have a little gap for, commentaries, special features, stuff like that. And that's great. Release the collector's edition 4 months later. That's fine. But for some people that just want the movie, and you could almost even double sale. I'm sure you get people that would buy the $15 or $10 version out of the theater and then buy the collector's edition 4 months later to get all the special features and stuff.
All right, so devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
If you could buy it, let's say the window was 2 weeks or a month, or like you said, as soon as you walked out of the theater, you'd be like, man, that movie was so good, and specifically Prometheus, had us all, whether you liked it or not, had us all talking about it enough that if there was a copy to watch again and scrutinize further, we probably would have. One of us probably would have bought it, and it probably would have been me.
And no, I'm just saying that's where it draws into it, right? You would have bought it, and then nobody would have been back to the theater. We went back and saw it twice. Remember, we went back.
We did. My point is, if you can do that, would you have ever gone to the theater in the first place?
No, I wouldn't.
Possibly, because the argument for viewing it in the theater is a far superior experience, and it's kind of gotten a little gray with home technology getting better at doing kind of big screen presentation with awesome sound systems and better video systems. But you still go to the theaters for the giant viewing experience and going with a bunch of people that you can argue about it afterwards.
Popcorn.
This is what I was going to say is that I don't think I've seen a movie for the purpose of seeing the movie in theaters in a while. Maybe since Prometheus. That might have been the last movie that I wanted to see the movie.
It was the objective.
That's the reason we went,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's always just been, hey, let's get together, let's hang out.
Yeah.
And the movie's the thing to do as opposed to, going...
Because Lord knows we weren't objectively going to watch Riddick.
What are you talking about, man? That movie was artistic, impeccable. Vin Diesel penned that script out of the blood of virgins and ancients.
I have to say, after that description, I'm sorry I missed it. This has to be the greatest movie.
You've got to see the barrel roll scene. I think I even saw Pepe pop up there.
He's
like, do a barrel roll! And then he did the barrel roll as he flew. Yeah, it was great.
From Star Fox.
Yeah,
It's
Star
pretty
Fox.
much all uphill then downhill at Starbucks Boob.
Yes.
Starbucks boob.
You have to view it again, apparently, because we can't wait now for Riddick. As we talk now, Riddick is not out on DVD, is it?
Pacific Rim is, though.
I think...
Which is interesting.
Pacific Rim Job?
Yes, Pacific Rim Job's out. Well,
I think...
Couple weeks before, though. I mean, we're almost a month difference between the two.
I think, honestly, the studio heads determine these release windows, and I don't think it's because of technology. We've already got to the point where they're digital. They just drop them straight in, right into the transformation. Oh, I've got my DVD thing, and I'll just drop it in there like a Nero burn list or whatever. But the problem lies in that they want to milk it as much as they can get. And if it's doing well in the box office, they don't want to take that away because you're going to go pay $20 to go see this movie as opposed to $20 to view it as much as you want.
The way it works is that if you go see a movie on opening weekend, the theater has to pay a higher percentage of that ticket, whatever you want to call it, to the studio.
Yep.
Okay. So as that goes down, then the theater starts to make more money. So the theater doesn't want the studio to release it 4 weeks after its opening night because they can still get people coming in and make a higher percentage.
So they're lobbying for it, aren't they?
Exactly. So we've got opposing forces that all want different things, and the consumer wants as many choices as possible. But
3-4 months still.
Well,
would you say as soon as it disappears from theater? Available?
No.
Would that make sense?
No, because then for a movie that you're marginally thinking about seeing, you'll just say, no, I'll just wait for Netflix. It'll be out in 2 weeks.
It's a good point. I mean, in a lot of cases, I would say, hey guys, why don't you all come over and we'll, I'll buy it and we'll have it on the big screen or whatever and we'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of limited releases where they're doing simultaneous release, where they're just releasing it everywhere. But we're talking about not blockbusters, movies where they don't expect to have a huge box office.
It's more important to get eyes on it than it is making bajillions of dollars.
Yeah.
B or C titles.
Yep.
Not.
Yeah, they're just as happy with the 10 cents they're going to make off of you watching it on Netflix as they are with $1 you're going to see it in theater.
Now, one thing I've seen starting to happen is like Xbox Dashboard. I've seen a couple of movies where you can watch right then. I mean, in some cases before it's even in theaters.
Yeah.
You can watch it.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. There's been a couple. There's been like 2 or 3 that you can watch before they're even in theaters.
And I'm sure what's happening there is that they're paying them a higher share per view than they would if they were just to widely release it.
Yeah.
You still got to rent it, and renting it is like $20 when you do that. But
Holy Nikes.
But wait a minute, $20, right? What would you spend if you went to the theaters?
Not $20.
What did we spend on Riddick? We went and saw it, and it was like freaking $14 for the ticket.
Per person. So
And then you bought it?
Wasn't
What do you think it was?
for the ticket
Yeah.
per person.
Yeah.
What, $9?
No.
No.
$8 or $9?
No.
We didn't see it in
Where are you
IMAX.
seeing your movies?
We saw it in 3D, though, didn't we?
yeah, I thought we did.
Yeah, I thought we did.
That was the worst 3D movie ever. No,
That's what I was saying.
No, I don't know if we did or not. I can't
No,
All
remember.
right. So anyway, if it's
Such a
not
stellar
3D,
movie.
We
if
did-
it's not
we didn't
3D,
see
it would have
it in
been
3D.
12.
What was amazing is how good this was that we can all remember it so well.
If it wasn't in 3D, it would have been $12. If it was 3D, it would have been 14, and if it was IMAX 3D, it was 15.
And if it was Nate's 3D, it was all
Oh,
the money to me.
man. So anyway, I'm saying $20
3D is
seems
free.
high for a single viewing, but if you get to see that ahead of the theaters, maybe it is worth a premium. I don't know.
Or if you get to see it with multiple people, I mean, you could bring a couple guys over and you guys could like cry in the same scenes and comfort each other or something like that. But even if you were to limit, if you wanted to put limitations on it, those would at least make sense. If you would say, okay, for the first 2 weeks, you can only see it in theaters. Great. 2 weeks to, let's say, a month and a half out. If you see it in theaters, you can then buy a $10 copy. That is the only way you can get it. You have to buy a movie ticket.
Oh,
and
okay.
then you
Yeah,
can buy
okay.
That
That'd
would
be
be a
good.
good thing.
That
That
would
would
be
be way.
good.
If you see it in theaters, you can, get it digital download or whatever.
Right.
The moment
Right.
it leaves theaters.
That would be great
But you'd
too.
have to
Like,
coordinate all
there'd
the
be a code on your
theaters.
Yes, and you're talking about going against that oppositional force, like you said, that they want you to come back and view it in the theater or bring your friends or whatever. And if it's the theater, it's got to
still-
work together with the ticket.
I think this could work though. If let's say you did it through like a Fandango or a movietickets.com or whatever, some sort of, if you do online booking,
Yep.
you get your code
Yeah.
through them
Okay.
so that you can buy digital license or you have access then to order the DVD or whatever.
Still against Fandango's best interest, though.
Well, I suspect what you would find out is they actually have a system for determining the release windows of all these.
Yeah.
And it's just that we don't know what it is because it's at the higher level pay grade of the executive suite.
It's
of
actually
Warner Brothers or
Skynet.
whatever.
It's up there with the Hollywood accounting where they determine how much money a movie actually makes.
Yeah, it's exactly
yeah.
Like,
right.
oh, well, the movie has
Yeah.
to make this much money before we can release it.
Yeah.
It still hasn't made enough money because we're not done paying ourselves yet.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why you always hear
$500
people suing because they say the amount of money the movie made was say $50 million and it
Yeah.
actually made $100 million and they're arguing how much the movie actually made.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I mean, you have the
Fractions of pennies.
little tangent, but no,
Yeah.
you have the movie production company that also owns half of the services involved,
Right.
That then sets the price for what the movie pays for their services. So the audio mixer, I'm sorry, that was $120 million to have it audio mixed. The movie only made $100 million, so we're still 20
That
million
guy is
off.
overpaid. Let me tell you. Normalize that shit. I'm like, oh yeah, here comes some talking. Got to turn it up.
The point doesn't actually go to the guy; it goes
Yeah.
to the
No.
corporation
Yeah,
that employs
exactly.
the guy.
But yeah, even that, when you were talking about it a minute ago, somebody said that when they release them on DVD and Blu-ray, one of the issues with the sound quality is they don't do a proper mixing job when
No.
they release it. So they just kind of take the theater version, slap it on a
it.
disc, and sell it. They're like,
Yeah.
right, you'll listen to anything.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because they have a wider spread of
Speakers.
dedicated speakers for a frequency. So they've
Yeah.
got subs that are specifically meant for this range, and then they've got either higher range subs or they've got very large mids, in the side of the theater pointed at
So you can hear people talking.
And they've got some high end, maybe like a $5,000 or a $10,000, tweeter, that is meant just for the high range. And when you say, oh, okay, sweet, I'm going to watch this on my TV, they just throw it all in there, and it just doesn't work.
No, it ends up as a mess.
Right.
As a guy who does audio engineering, it just frustrates the shit out of me.
It's no good.
Right. So I think the other thing that's at least interesting to me is we see these movies and we see even TV shows and whatnot, and the violence level in them. I mean, I don't really care, but I find it very interesting that the violence level now, the censorship has come way back. We're able to see, and they're able to animate, and they're able to show a lot more than what they did 20, 30 years ago, right? in terms of the amount of blood they were willing to show on, let's say, primetime even. Because, I mean, there are gory movies back in the day, too. But, I mean, now, just what's out there openly, it seems like the censorship of that gore level and that just violence in general has come way back. But the thing that makes me... that makes this an interesting point is, in real life, it's almost... We've almost taken... almost had an intolerance for violence, which is a good thing. I mean, I don't want, I want a safe environment, but even for entertainment, like football or racing, like the IRL where the guy, Dan Weldon, died when the car went against the fence or whatever. People are like so shocked by that. Oh my God. We must do something. But in a sense, some of these sports, football and racing and I'm sure lots of others, there is an element of danger, which makes it exciting to watch, right? I mean, if it was just so sterile that there was nothing involved, it's not all strategy.
I was going to say, let's talk about NASCAR, a sport where people really want to watch people just make left turns all day. No, it's because they want to see somebody potentially wreck. That's why they go to see this.
Right. So if they, and specifically in NASCAR with Earnhardt dying, I'm sure all the fans at the time said, I hate to see that happen, and nobody wants to see anybody actually die.
No, of course not.
But part of that danger element in there,
Nobody I'd like to see.
Chris is writing his death note.
But I mean, the constant...
Moved your way to the top of the list. Congratulations.
The constant need to try and make the entertainment more, or the sports more and more safe to the point that it almost seems like the sport is kind of sterile now. You know what I mean? Like, it seems odd to me.
There's a story that's been circulating out there that the NFL is actively trying to make its sport softer in an attempt to appeal to women. Yes, exactly. Yeah, which is... I don't know if that's smart or not. If you lose your fan base in order to attempt to appeal to somebody that may or may not be interested, that seems to me to be a bad bet. But
is that not the point of the lingerie football league?
I was going to say, I actually know probably more females that are into football than I do males.
Yeah, like seriously, like my family, my mom is the biggest football fan out of all of us. She friggin' loves football.
I don't get it.
So I mean, I don't know what target audience they don't think they have, but
it's funny though, because in a sense, in reality, we're trying to eliminate risk.
Right.
But we've seen this corresponding increase in fantasy where we're depicting
more and more violence.
Like, if you're on cable television, you can pretty much do whatever you want from a violence standpoint. If you're on like premium channels, you can literally do whatever you want from a violence standpoint.
I was going to say Walking Dead is a perfect example.
Well, yeah, where they can do pretty much whatever they want to kind of fantasy creatures. On, say, Game of Thrones, they can do whatever they want to real human beings. Now, if you're on network television still, if you're dead, if you're a corpse, then they can do whatever they want. Like CSI, Bones, all those shows are so incredibly gory anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like almost their way of, because we can't have sex.
God forbid our
God
Puritan society allows sex.
But so
TV.
we can't have sex, therefore we've upped the violence level. And it's been almost directly or inversely.
So does this take us back to the lingerie football where they've decided that we're taking the risk out, so introduce sex into the
No, actually I think it's very interesting that you said that earlier, that you said that our fantasies are becoming more violence involved because we can't enact that in real life. And it seems like we have that in video games, we have it in all entertainment, I guess, so to speak. Is that just because our society as a whole has become so good at mitigating the risk out of life?
There's something that, I'll try to describe it as best I can, but if they take video game like Call of Duty players that have never played paintball, and then they put them out on the paintball field, and they freak out and get really angry when they get shot because they've never experienced consequences for their actions before.
Yeah.
So this is because we've reduced risk or reduced consequences in reality, or trying to soften reality.
Yep.
We're now not really as affected by the depiction of violence because we don't really realize
You can't
what's
identify
happening.
with somebody that's been, shot or cut or anything because that has never happened to you.
And it's
That's
not that everybody
interesting.
was
But you-
shot or
but you-
cut,
but
but
you-
you could kind of imagine, because
But,
if you
yeah,
were
in
an
your head.
outdoorsman, you kind of knew, like if you were a hunter, you know what happens when somebody gets shot.
Right. Exactly,
But playing
yeah.
video games, if something bad happens, you respawn and start over. Or
Exactly.
you get to go back. You get up and get right back into it.
There are
And-
virtually no consequences.
And so, in real life, that doesn't happen. You don't immediately get back up
Yeah.
and respawn and the wound heals over when you grab a friggin' med kit or whatever.
I'd say there's some counterculture that has kind of developed around this too. Now that hippies, yeah, well, not hippies, but I was going to say Parker is a perfect example of this. These are guys that'll go around and jump. You probably see like a
parkour.
Parkour. Did I say Parker?
Parker Lewis?
Parker, I'm like, are you talking about that movie with Jason Statham?
Yeah, that one. Actually, I did watch that recently. That was a pretty good movie.
Parker. Great. You mean,
Yeah, it was. See,
you mean
Jason
Transporter
Statham.
17?
Transporter. No, he doesn't transport anymore. He just parks.
Oh,
So,
Parker.
He's a Parker. Oh, damn it.
He's like $5
Dude,
for the lap.
every Jason Statham movie is the same way. There's always a guy. There's always so going back to our Bioshock. But anyway, yeah. So parkour,
Thank you.
or free running, for some people that call it that way. I thought you were going to judge me for saying free running. Are you a parkour?
You're a freaking hipster.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you free run in your fedora?
No,
with
I
your
don't.
Horn-rimmed
No,
glasses on?
I don't.
With your ascot.
I was free running before it was cool. No, but parkour. Anyway, these guys are all about. It's all about.
There's a point.
There is a point. Goddammit. No, it's all about these guys are basically taking their life into their own hands in some ways. They're jumping from building to building. They're not mitigating risk. I mean, in such a way, they're actually seeking risk almost. Yeah, to a certain extent, they're trying to make it so they can move themselves around these obstacles and do it in an efficient manner, so to speak. But there is almost an element of danger. Like, they don't just do this in a gym, because a lot of it is very gymnastics based, but it is, let's take this out and go run on a freaking building and jump to the next building. Maybe they watch too much Matrix. I don't know.
No, this will never be organized
Yeah.
as any kind of system for this reason, because of the danger involved inherently. It's all it
No,
takes is
right.
one
Nobody
person.
can take on that sort of.
Exactly, because one person falls and breaks their neck, it's over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless
so-
they sign something.
But they wouldn't. That's what he's saying. They would just never organize.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
they
always
couldn't-
on.
They couldn't do it.
Right.
So
And I suppose it's interesting because if you look on YouTube, I remember when that craze came in, the parkour craze, and those guys. I mean, the original guys. The guys are from what are they from Turkey or something like that? But it's like
Well, it's been around since the early 1900s.
right. Well, I mean, when
you really are a parkour hipster.
I don't know.
actually,
No, actually, it has. It has been
No,
around since the early 1900s.
Assassin's Creed was what, 1600s? And they had the free running? So it's been around at least since then. Are you telling me that wasn't real? These
For you kids
lines
at home
between
that are
reality
listening,
and fiction.
I'm face palming Picard style right now.
all right. So
yes.
anyway, there were a couple of guys that put together some well-produced videos of them doing this through city centers, and they're doing these gigantic, leaps and just running all over the place through an urban environment, and they're making incredible time across the city. But there are several instances where if they hadn't made that jump, it might have been broken
Yeah,
neck.
they're taking,
Right, exactly.
taking life in their own hands.
In some
yeah.
cases, they were jumping from it's railing and railing, and below was busy street,
like 40-foot drop. Or something.
right. So it's in some cases it could have been death had they messed it up, But what I found interesting about those guys was that their YouTube hits were just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? There clearly was a want to watch that because there was an element of danger.
Yeah.
And I suppose on the racing side of it, you look at all the stuff and it just seems anymore okay, these guys have these horrific crashes or whatever, and they just get out and it's so, I keep using the word sterile, but it just seems like it's not. You can't really trust
It's
that
Ricky Bobby from
right.
yeah. He's on fire. He's running around the car in a circle.
But like Ken Block with the Gymkhana videos, right? It looks like he is moments away from death.
Yeah, I'm sure he kind of really is. Like if he doesn't pull a turn right,
that is a building, right? That is a building with a concrete wall.
Yeah.
And if the tires don't hook up at the right moment, that's sideways into a. Anyway,
I think that still comes back to, not to cut you off there, but I'm going to cut you off there. And it still comes back to like fantasy versus reality. I mean, you can see somebody do that. There's no way in hell I'd ever be able to do that. I have no even inkling of belief that I could, jump anything higher than 6 inches. I don't know where I was going with that.
Another point, or go ahead.
I was going to say, but yeah, I mean, it's still, that's why it's so interesting, is because it is pretty much, it's pretty much a video game. It's pretty much a movie that you don't have control over, that yes, something bad could happen. And I kind of wonder if there's like a little bit of disconnect, or even that there's a stronger connection, that this is actually somebody doing this that could die. Like, when you're watching a movie, it's fake. There's probably a good chance they're not going to die unless it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. After that video we watched where every movie he made was real. was not a movie. It was Arnold. It's the best acting is not acting.
We'll post a link to that in the description of this.
But even watching somebody do it on YouTube, I mean, there are still videos that look so real on YouTube that are fake.
Yep.
That you can be like, it might be fake. So if something bad happens, I'm not too concerned because it might be fake. Or is it, yes, it is even more thrilling because I could watch somebody die. That could be awesome. Except you don't really want to watch somebody die.
Right.
Messed up.
I was going to say Jackass would be another one. These guys make, millions of dollars off of putting themselves in danger. Steve-O, no insurance company will take this guy because he's willing to do anything.
Because he'll staple his ass shut.
Yeah, exactly. Or get
I wouldn't insure that guy either.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a little bit of that, like I said, counterculture and backlash against it, I think. But it does seem to be, we love to watch, to quote a great man, Maynard James Keenan, we like to live vicariously. We like to watch things die from a distance.
It is peculiar. I'm saying, I find it interesting that entertainment has taken this route of being safe, while it's clearly entertaining, or at least the trend of entertainment is towards more violence. So in a way, this is these people's workplace, and workplace, like I said, has become so safe, and it's a good thing. I mean, I don't want to get hurt, at work or whatever, and.
Is there maybe some concern, just throwing it out there, is there maybe some concern about, like, if you look at the past, let's take, for example, gladiator games. Those were real.
Yeah.
There were real people who were really going to die, 100 foot in front of you. Is there some concern that maybe regressing back to wanting to watch people die live that makes, these real life forms of entertainment want to be more safe? That because, yes, it is a dangerous sport. Everybody knows it's a dangerous sport. They still play rugby with no pads and stuff on. Mm-hmm. So, there's some acceptance of, you're probably going to get hurt, but deal with it. You played the sport. But there's...
So the difference, and I'm an advocate for fewer pads in football, because when you hit somebody with your body and you feel the impact, that causes you to hit them not quite as hard. And as a result, you actually have fewer injuries because people aren't just flailing themselves all over the place.
Which is why we don't have a death toll for rug bowl.
Well, rugby's a great example.
Rug bowl.
Yeah, rug bowl. But it is. It's a great example. As somebody that's played both rugby and football, rugby, you're much more cautious about how you put your body into positions because you're fully aware that with football, you can just dive head first and for the most part come out okay. Obviously, there's exceptions and people do get hurt still and everything. There's like more concussions in basketball, though. I mean, just silly stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the point being is that there needs to be less protection for awareness. And I think that, to your point about the regression, I think people are aware that there is the potential for risk more in sports like rugby. They aren't as bloodthirsty when they watch rugby. It is more actually about kind of the sport, whereas football is about like the massive hit. Because I mean, again, car crashes.
As I say, it's back to NASCAR. You're watching for the
you
car
watch
crash.
that giant car crash. They're probably. I mean, virtually every time they just get out and they turn out to be okay. The Earnhardt thing was actually kind of almost a quirk. Really, it just kind of happened that happened. He didn't think he had it properly restrained, but that's whatever. I'm glad that there seems to be that line though, because we're perfectly happy to humiliate people, and we're perfectly happy to watch them fail. That's how you get shows like Wipeout or that kind of stuff.
Right.
But there doesn't seem to be desire to see people actually get hurt in reality, and I'd be very concerned if that ever comes to be a pass.
So here's the counterpoint to all of this: the UFC. It has been gaining sort of ridiculous viewership in the last 10 years.
Right.
And they have sort of... Because when they first started, they didn't use any type of hand protection or whatever. And so they have sanitized it a little bit, but some of these guys are still breaking arms, breaking hands, legs.
But it was so...
in the ring.
Yeah, I would say this actually is the case that proves your point, because people didn't want to see that level of bloody violence that was in the original UFC. They had to clean it up a bit to make it acceptable for the masses, but still have that element of striking, and it still feels real. I mean, obviously it was real.
A little too much street brawl versus
it had to be a controlled sport.
toned down boxing.
Yeah,
So
boxing,
blood sports versus
boxing became boxing became almost a fantasy. Boxing lost a lot.
What the hell is going on here?
Jean-Claude Van Damme face.
I say do some blood sport. Yeah.
No, you didn't slow-mo and do enough.
Enough. He's blind. You're like,
Yeah.
For our audio listeners here, Chris was
Just watch Bloodsport.
Just watch Bloodsport.
And wait for the part where Van Damme gets stuff thrown in his eye.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what just happened here.
Top 5 guy movies of all time.
Oh, that's a great movie.
right.
It is a good movie.
So I guess we've sort of beat the hell out of this topic on
That
violence.
horse has been thrown aside.
Right.
It's a fantasy horse, though, so we can do whatever we want to it.
Hey.
Disembowel it.
One of the things
I don't want to
you,
hear Nate's
guts.
suggestions.
Hey.
one of the things you brought up
What would
was
Dolan do to it?
Gooby, please.
One of the things you brought up was that we like to humiliate people, or we like to make fun of them when they make stupid decisions or whatever, and Wipeout or Ultimate, Extreme Challenge,
Extreme Elimination Challenge, yes.
right?
Missed that from back in the day.
MXC.
So
The overdubs are
to an extent, the making fun of has almost gone to a trolling status, right? Because there's making fun of, and then there's like, you are now intentionally doing it just to pester them, right? Which has sort of now become what trolling is. Has trolling kind of gone too far? We look at, what was it, David Lindelof?
Damon Lindelof, who is beloved by everyone on this panel.
Nate. Fuck that guy.
Is an active Twitter guy, has a lot of stuff, a lot of information he gives, a lot of things he comments on, and basically got so sick of people just, we'll call it trolling, but it's actually just being a dick to him, that he said, fuck it, I'm done. That's right. That's exactly what he said.
He said, fuck
That was
it.
the tweet?
Did he say it like Matthew McConaughey?
Actually, what he did is he posted, and because everyone always criticizes the ending of Lost, he put, I'm happy to announce that I'm going to, and they cut it off, ended it, and a day later he deleted his account.
Nice.
So it was kind
And
of
then the day after that, the account showed up, and
ending.
it was all, it was purgatory, really.
It was actually,
and they were all dead. And
Yes, they all were gathering together to go to heaven. I just ruined the ending of Lost.
You've had enough time to watch.
Spoiler alert.
Dude, it's like,
No.
if you were into Lost, it's been how many damn years
you've watched
now?
it.
Anyway,
Jesus.
so long story short is that trolling is no longer trolling, and it's hard to define trolling. I know it when I see it. It's when somebody does something that is intentionally, they know it full well isn't correct, and we troll each other all the time as friends. And I think you can troll strangers, but you have to be really careful how you do it, because if you do it for too long, then it just becomes being a dick.
Yeah.
Right.
And making fun of somebody is not trolling. Okay? Like, you could say something that is making fun of that happens to be trolling, but simply just making fun of somebody doesn't equal trolling.
Could be bullying.
You could
When
call
does,
it-
when does trolling
yeah.
become bullying?
Well, this is okay.
Does
So
trolling become bowling?
in Grand Theft Auto, and I'm not really revealing anything from a story standpoint, but there's a side mission where you have to rescue somebody who's been kidnapped by somebody he's been trolling on the internet. And yes, and basically
Nice commentary there.
The hero asks the guy, what exactly is trolling? And he's like, well, it's humor through repetition. Like, this guy's had a kid, and his kid was really ugly, and I said, your kid's really ugly, and the guy's like, actually, he has Down syndrome. So I told him, well, you know, and it goes on and on and on, and what you realize is that he's calling it trolling, but actually he's just a little twat, and he needs to get his ass kicked, you know? So the point being is that I think we've passed this point now where people are literally just being assholes.
Right.
And trolling,
Calling it trolling.
yeah, is their excuse for why it's acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, it sort of changed definitions, didn't it? Because, like, I remember not even 5 years ago, if I heard trolling, I thought internet forums, and I thought that one guy that comes in that has nothing constructive to add to the argument and just picks apart somebody's argument.
or says something random. And
Or
then
says
leaves.
something completely illogical.
Right.
Yeah, intentionally enraging people.
Right, and everybody's like, all right, thanks, troll, or whatever, and off they go. But I would say in the last 5 years, I've taken it more to mean, I don't know, almost like like with your friends, sort of, giving them a hard time, that sort of thing, and maybe that's not it. I don't know, but like
I've backed off my position that you can troll anonymously. I don't think you can troll anyone but your friends. I don't, because it's
just being a dick.
It's a
Well,
certain point.
isn't that part of what trolling came from? Is the anonymity? These kids. I say these kids like it's adults that don't. These damn kids. Oh, I'm getting old, guys. No, people that go on and troll have that window of anonymity where I can go on, do it, and have no repercussion for saying something that. Where if I said something like that to Staughton, if I didn't know him, and I was like, he'd punch me in the face, and that would be the end of it. So there's that, goes back to that mitigating of risk, right? I'm willing to troll or go and be an asshole on the internet because I don't have any consequences for it.
See, this is the thing: is that at some point in the past, it was kind of an art form, like a really elaborate
Well,
joke.
the original definition was trolling as a art.
Yeah,
As an art,
exactly.
yeah.
And it's lost all that.
No.
And I would use Damon Lindelof as the example because people weren't like cleverly, like what happened basically is when Breaking Bad ended, everyone was like, that's how you end a show, Damon. You
Right.
I said some words there I really shouldn't say.
Name
But
for
the
a
point
person?
being is they basically ran a guy off of the internet who is a intelligent and successful person. We can agree on that, can't we, Nate?
Obviously,
He wrote series that we were interested
I'm
in.
gonna say that he's obviously done enough to garner credibility.
Yes.
We'll say that.
Exactly.
Now whether we tease about I tease him, and as much as I said earlier, I was like, oh, fuck Lindelof or fuck that guy. Honestly, no. If I saw the dude on the street, I'd be like, what's up, and I would talk to him and be. Just because I don't agree with his creative works. That's the difference.
You'd be like, hey,
I'd be like, that's how you end a show.
lost.
yeah. And
Middle finger.
Prometheus.
Yeah.
That's two right there. Let me turn them up in case you couldn't hear them because the audio engineer forgot to mix it right.
I see your nodules are vertical there.
Yes. I think you're right. I think the issue is trolling originally started out as, kind of getting people's goat just for fun. And not being super mean about it, but like saying something stupid that everybody knows was stupid. and you may have been in on the joke, may have not been in on the joke, but the joke kind of comes out at some point that you were just messing
did you
around.
know you can die from dihydrous monoxide or whatever?
Right.
That's a troll.
And there's still a little bit of that now, like some of the the asking, like the people on the street questions where they ask them, do you prefer this or this, and it's the exact same thing just with two different names, and people are like, well, this one's much better. Or the ones where they go to like the art shows and they're like, oh, have you heard of this new artist Drawing McSucks-a-Lot? He's amazing, isn't he? And they're like, oh yeah, he's the greatest. I saw his art while I was in there.
Drawing McSucks-a-Lot.
That one might be a giveaway, but
That's my handle.
Might be a
Sorry.
hint.
But yeah, I think
It's your handle.
more recently people have taken that and kind of started applying trolling to obvious instances of stupidity. And much as I like to call people
Abuse.
in general stupid, lots of people are stupid, and they say stupid things, and then when they get called out on, they're like, oh, I was trolling you. I got you good. No, you didn't. You're stupid.
it's true. They use it as a defense against their own ignorance.
Right. And then you also have people that go online and are just, like Staughton said, complete assholes to everybody, and they hide it behind, oh, we're totally trolling them. No, you're not. You're an asshole. You mean everything that you say. This isn't, I'm just joking with you. This is, I really, hate your kid. I think you're ugly. You're stupid.
Yeah.
I wish you'd jump off a bridge. I wish the ending of Lost didn't suck so much, but it did.
You look at me like I'm the one who went on there. I am the single responsible person.
I can't help but look at Nate.
for getting Damon Lindelof off of Twitter.
Good
You'll
job,
thank me
Nate.
later.
But yeah, I think really trolling started out as something that was kind of amusing. It was kind of, I would almost say it was kind of like Jackass a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they do stupid stuff and kind of, like, the taking the rental car and smashing the shit out, like taking it to a demolition derby.
Was that
and smashing it.
CKY?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was kind of a little trolling, but then it kind of goes too far, and now you're affecting real people and you're pissing people off, and you're still trying to play it off as, oh, I was totally joking. It was really a joke. No,
It
wasn't.
has kind of started since that. CKY came out over 10 years ago now, right? It came out in like 99, 90.
I think
Maybe it comes from the...
2K?
No, that was the second one.
So
CKY was 98 or 99.
Land Speed? Is that what it was? Land Speed, the first one?
It
God,
was
I
just
know.
CKY.
One?
And then it was
Yeah.
and then it was CKY 2K and then
Yeah.
CKY 3.
Yep. But either way, it's been out for a long time, right? So
Yeah.
maybe we can kind of trace some of the roots of this behavior from that, right?
As opposed
you
to-
could go
as
a lot
opposed to-
further back than that.
As
bro.
opposed to tracing it back to people were an asshole 800 years ago.
Yeah, it could be.
Exactly. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
How far you could say the court jester was a troll.
Oh, there you go.
At least
had it
then,
right.
at least then, I think that you could probably get away with being a legitimate troll if the court jester had, intentions of living for the next 5
Did he
minutes.
live under the bridge?
That's true. CKY, they're they kick a football into somebody's car as they drive by, and oh, sorry, and it's hilarious to everybody that's watching. If the jester had kicked a football into the king's face,
Yeah, the king.
He'd probably
be beheaded.
Next jester.
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's not funny.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess one of the other things we want to get to is games. Games are starting to take an interesting path here. I don't want to say persistent world, but sort of games as a service. And Nate, do you want to describe what you were talking about here? We start to see games like what, like Diablo 3.
Yeah, so basically, my premise in this, we're seeing a lot more games go to what would be considered a service base, and you could almost say the iterative landscape that we've seen, like Call of Duty. Could we see games like that come out, Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, come out as more a service, like, how you subscribe to Netflix at this point, or you subscribe to something. What if you paid $20 a year, or it'd be more for that, right? I mean, $60 a year, and I get
whatever, some sort of
and
subscription.
I get multiplayer for Call of Duty, and I get all the latest updates, and I get all the latest trends, and all of that. Or it's kind of how the free to play model has gone, and I'd say that I see signs that games are going more that way, just because we've got games where everything is very service-based and multiplayer-based. SimCity, Diablo 3, and even what the Xbox One had proposed in the initial landscape, that you were always online, which would enable you to
Some-
kind of subscribe to that.
Right, like in some of their cloud computing, they were talking about games where the land, sections or areas of the map could actually open up without you ever having to actually download and update.
Right, exactly. Because it would be always available because you're on a cloud or service.
You're talking more along the lines of when you say like SimCity or Diablo 3. You're talking games that you only install a client, basically.
Yeah,
and so you connect into, and everything is on the server. So kind of the MMO model, but not MMO in the same sense that you don't have a copy of the game. Your install disk installs a client that then logs into a server that then generates the levels, and
You have the engine.
Right.
you have the engine and probably some sprites, but
Right.
the actual level generation and play maps and all that stuff is stored away from you.
And everything that's been happening since you've been away.
Yeah. And well, that by doing that, by the push to that, where you have more server powered and thin clients, so to speak, is what the way you look at that. You have the ability to update iteratively on the server without even having to affect that thin client, and enable them to say pay into a service. So I subscribe to like I have HBO or I have Showtime. Well, I have Call of Duty on my box. It's like I'm subscribed to it or whatever. I could see that as a future. Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think I'm thinking far too outside the box?
Well, I think there's two things here, right? Because there's games where it's sort of not necessarily persistent world, but like the service that's updated iteratively, like you said. But whether you're paying for that service or not is an interesting point, because MMOs that charged for their service have kind of gone by the wayside. There's not very many of them left.
True.
Until Elder Scrolls Online comes out and charges
$15 a
buck
month.
rapage a month.
Who knows? I mean, it might work. It might not. I mean,
They'll probably go to free to play within 6 months. My guess.
almost all of them have.
Yeah, 6 months to a year.
Almost all of them have.
So maybe it goes to that. Maybe it goes to free to play with a pay model, with a subscribe model.
I don't know. We'll have to see how it works out. What people aren't thrilled about paying for something that stays the same. I think some people are okay with paying a premium for a service like Battlefield Premium. If you know you're going to be getting constant updates. I know lots of us got the premium, for the last iteration of Battlefield. Because we knew we were going to be getting those DLC updates. If that wasn't DLC and that was premium, and those that get premium get a changing experience, you're going to get these additional levels, you're going to get more maps, you're going to get more vehicles, more weapons, blah, blah, blah. If that was either a service or whether that was pay $60 and you get this for the next year, you get all the updates we're going to do, and here's what the timeline is, I do think more people would buy into that.
Yeah.
Destiny will be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Right? Bungie's new pet project.
Yep.
Because that is in this instance, it is a persistent world. It will continue even when you're offline.
Right.
Grand Theft Auto has an online experience that can be persistent world, but it is much the same way. The world can change while you're not there. You're not paying anything really for that.
No.
I mean, you paid for the game.
You can, though. You can pay money to get money in the
well,
game, like
microtransactions.
in-game money, microtransactions.
I do
right,
think we'll start seeing more microtransactions for things to shortcut the grind. It shouldn't. We will see things that aren't just shortcuts. We will see things that are
Pay to win.
Yes, pay to win.
I think you already do. I think there already is pay to win.
They do exist out there, but it breaks games.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that can sustain are the ones that do pay to shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
Not pay to win.
Yeah.
And I think in those instances, that is a sustainable model.
Yeah.
Cut some of the grind out if you put in this bit or whatever. I think you'll see some of that.
My concern with the games the games as a service issue is a lot of the backlash with SimCity and Diablo was the always on requirement.
Exactly.
Because you paid $60 for a game that you now could not play if you did not have internet. Or you'd be in the middle of a game, and because your internet connection was flaky, you just lost whatever your last save point was. So it's going to be hard to kind of push people in that direction of saying, well, why don't we just keep, we're taking the load off of your box so you can run a half-assed machine to play the game.
Right.
So, but we're doing all the processing over here, and we'll do all the saves over here, and everything will be saved here, and it'll be great. And until you can't access it, until our servers go down, until you lose your internet, until our company goes bankrupt and you lose everything.
Right.
At the end of the day, if I know. With large companies, it's hard to think about it, like with Amazon or Google or even Blizzard. It's hard to think of this company could someday go bankrupt.
But
if someday this company goes bankrupt, your copy of Diablo 3 is worthless because you can't. Those servers don't exist anymore.
Yep.
You have a $60 piece of crap that it's probably a long enough timeline that you don't care. But there are still games that are gonna if they go towards that, then if some rinky-dink company goes out of business, you got nothing.
Yeah, I think it is
Screwed.
a symptom of the digital distribution age. We're kind of like on that cusp of we're still in the old and still in the new, and we obviously still weren't ready to make the leap, or else Xbox One would have been like, oh yeah, that's fine, always online, we'll do that. There was such a backlash, like you said, against that it shows that people aren't quite ready to give up the physical media, so to speak.
And I think some of the backlash against Xbox One being always on was more of a. It wasn't so much. It was more of a, I have to always have internet connection every 24 hours to tell me that I own the games that I own. Like, if you could continue playing and your Xbox was like, okay, you're offline, I locally have that you have these licenses, you can play these games. The instant you go back online, I'm going to revalidate every single one of them, and they all better be legit. And if they're not legit, I'm going to take away the ones that aren't there. But you don't have to connect every single day to check that my 6-month-old copy of Battlefield 4 is still valid.
Yeah.
I bought it. It should be on my Xbox. Don't keep checking for it. It's there.
I think this is a little bit of a shift too, but I think part of what the Xbox One problem was that because Sony chose to basically remain stagnant from a service standpoint, they were able to just bludgeon that against Microsoft.
Snarking.
So I mean, but they were able to turn that into their marketing hammer and just beat Microsoft over the head with it. And so it made it almost impossible for Xbox to actually make those kind of advancements because they were able to inject so much fear into the market. Now that being said, I mean the always online thing that you're talking about, they didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Like they didn't make the consumer comfortable with it. But there's no question that the reason they had to go back on basically everything was because they were getting beaten like a rented mule.
Because it is easier to kind of be like, well, they're still saying this is the cool way to do it, and it's the way I've been doing it, so I'm going to go with them. And you're wrong for doing it a different way.
Do you think some of the streaming services that we're getting now, Steam, I'm going to be able to supposedly stream, to my from my desktop computer to my living room or whatever with a Steam box if I had that, or Nvidia's got the Shield, I think, where you can go from your computer, the handheld, a Vita with the PS4, you're going to be able to stream the games to it, to and from, remote play, that kind of thing. You think that sort of streaming with a thin client? I know, Damon, is that what that was? But, no,
the Vita streaming is not all it's cracked up to be.
Okay, yeah, but either way, we'll just say the push for a thin client or a screen that basically can do your full-on server.
What you said is a really good point about we don't think Steam will ever go bankrupt. It will probably get bought out and go bankrupt. And basically somewhere hidden in those terms of user agreement is basically the little line that says we can do whatever we want whenever we feel like it.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. I'm sure it's in the
So
terms.
if they get bought out and suddenly all of a sudden now it becomes a subscription-based service.
Right. Every game that you bought, well, it'll be $5 per game per month that we're going to need you to pay so we can continue to provide that.
Exactly. And you've already dumped in $500 into Steam.
That's always possible. You take that risk when you do it. But like I said, for me, as a person that uses Steam quite a bit, all those games I bought, the majority of them were very cheap. I bought them dirt cheap on a Steam sale. $5. I bought the Star Wars, all of them for like $10 or whatever at a Steam sale. So the risk mitigation there is that I've not had to spend a lot of money, so I'm not going to lose a lot for that. Right. But I'm also buying in on Valve's good word that they'll always be around.
Yeah.
It's that.
And I think what you were talking about with the streaming to the Vita and the Steam box,
remote play services.
Remote play is a little different because you still the physical server is in your
Right, but
vicinity.
it's changing people's mindsets on ownership.
On accepting-
And accepting...
remote play.
Yeah, I said remote play, but accepting services, right? Because
Even still,
Gaikai streaming...
I'm not one of these people that's really comfortable yet with owning something that I don't actually have a hard copy
Yeah,
of.
see?
Because it's not real. I don't actually own it unless I can make my own hard copy.
Intellectual property. You have a hard time accepting intellectual property.
Unless I can make my own hard copy of it, I don't own it.
Right.
So iTunes you're totally okay with because you can burn a CD of it.
Well, yeah, as long as I'm willing to do that, I would be relatively okay with it. I mean, yeah, I'm okay with owning digital music because of the fact that it's relatively easy to create your own hard copy.
Right.
You know,
You can
if a
back-
hard
you can
drive
back it up
fails-
all over the
right.
place, and
exactly.
You have your
Yes.
library on the
But
iTunes. Right, yeah.
movies, I'm not as comfortable with because it is much more difficult.
And the formats change.
Exactly, so that's difficult.
Right.
And then with games, we're really out there because now we're talking about they have product codes or various ways of actually. We're talking about the always on thing with the validation checks.
Yep.
If they revoke that.
And see, I'm on the other side of the fence. When I first heard about, I didn't like the always on. That was the one thing that bothered me about the Xbox One. But the
share plan and all that.
no, that I could get
digital release.
Yes.
digital distribution.
A day
You
one?
know what?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
need
Sign me
another
up.
rack of. I don't need another rack of the next gen games. I don't need another bookshelf in my living room that has a bunch of freaking games in it. To me, I guess I'm willing to take that leap at this point. I'm willing to they didn't go bust with Xbox. They didn't go bust with Xbox 360. I'm going to take the guess that Xbox One is going to be around for as long as I'm willing to play Xbox.
It's Microsoft's
One
best
anymore.
brand, so there's no way it's going. I mean,
But
or it'll be
same
bought out.
Same for PS4, right? I would be if I was going to get the PS4, I would want to go digital distribution. I like the idea that if I want to get this game and it comes out on a Tuesday, I don't have to rush over on my lunch break and buy the game and hope that I didn't have hope that they still have some left or whatever. I have already bought several games that are games on demand. So either arcade games. I mean, I'm sure most of us have already bought some form of digital distribution media
Absolutely.
that you don't have a disc for, and you do sort of have to put trust in that it's going to be there.
There hasn't been a high level burn yet on
No.
one of these. Now there have been instances. I think it was either iTunes or Amazon that sold a digital copy of Catcher in the Rye.
It was a 1984. Wasn't
Okay,
it?
it could have
was
been 1984.
Amazon's
yeah,
copy of
they
19 the
actually
Kindle copy of
reached
1984.
into
They
everybody's
took it back.
Kindle and snatched it back, which
Yeah.
is mega creepy.
Did they give them back the $5 to $10?
Yeah,
bucks.
I
They
mean, it
refunded
was
their
a
money.
refund, but it was still a function of it was a reminder of how little you actually own this property.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. There hasn't been a high level situation here. I mean, can you imagine Grand Theft Auto comes out, $1 billion gets spent, and then all of a sudden, they get into some kind of argument between whoever distributed that
Oh, I
versus
see.
Rockstar, and they say no, actually you're not paying us enough, and they just say fine, well we're going to pull all those copies back.
Yeah, and this is not.
If they refunded it, I mean, would I
Doesn't
be
matter.
upset about
Doesn't
it?
matter. It would be enraging to have had
That-
it and then have it taken away.
I think there's
regardless of
probably
the
a
money
legal.
situation.
There's probably a legal system that would fight that too. Our
no.
system. in place-
Truthfully, once you're
there's
in
a-
their system, you're at their mercy.
Yeah,
you're
that's-
not. You
that's the
have
whole
no rights.
Terms are subject to change that you agree to when you start playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I mean, you couldn't throw in something like, we're changing the terms of service, so we now own your soul because you bought the game.
Bet you there
But
would be
you
class
have
action
the
lawsuits,
rights.
though.
You have the right as a consumer not to use the service.
Well, let me-
That's
You have the right
that's
as the
service
provider to
suicide,
change
though,
it.
right? I mean, if they were to do that if Steam were to do that to a person like a massive burn, massive
I
player
know everyone's
migration.
going to go use Origin.
even
Yeah.
Even before,
No, I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying that's what people will do.
Really?
It's the same thing that happens when somebody gets burned with something, or how to get burned. You would, sorry, I have to have a Nicolas Cage reference. But no, it's the same thing. Somebody gets burned with something. For instance, file sharing. Napster. Everybody goes to the next one when it goes down. They go to the next one.
Nobody got burnt though. They got shut down.
All right. In the
But there's
instance
still-
of the
but Napster wasn't,
Selling a product.
I know it's.
Napster wasn't DRM. They were, free copies. So it was like, even when they got shut down, I can't get my free
I'm just
copies
saying
of MP3s from anywhere. I
once
guess I'll have to
people
find
find the path of least resistance, which is if they get burned here, they're like, well, screw that. Steam screwed us all over. If it's that big of if a service screws somebody over that big of a deal,
Yeah.
they'll move.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah,
But
they will. Yeah, they
sometimes
will.
it's stuff you can't even control. Like where we work, the company who's, and this is kind of a little off of the subject, but the company that makes the software that we use primarily for writing programs, every so often stops paying a license for something. It's just not business smart on their end to pay a license for it. Every update prior to that cutoff, no longer available. You cannot download an update to this software because it contains that piece of software that they didn't pay. They stopped paying the
Is
license
this
on.
Power Builder?
Yes, it's terrible. But
probably gonna
think
have
of how many games. Think of how many games use Bink, use the Havoc engine, use all these same engines, and all it takes is one of them to go out of business, and the license not there anymore.
That's true.
Your physical copy.
But wait, if
what are they going to do about
Havoc
it?
goes out of business, they can just keep using it. If Havoc gets bought out
And then
they
say, no, you can't use that
to
anymore.
get this, we demand royalties. Well, I guess we can't sell the game
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
So your
Oh,
physical
that's
copy
true.
of the game is still probably good. You won't get any updates for it, but you can still play it. If you
Now-
have a digital copy, are you still allowed to play the digital copy?
No,
Would
but here's-
Microsoft come in and
here's the
say,
thing,
well,
though.
you don't have the rights to play that digital copy?
Let me make a point on this, and I think it can relate to the ebook. The if that happened to physical disc, if let's say Grand Theft Auto 5, they come out and let's say online didn't come up, and they said the reason it's taking so long to get this worked out is we contracted somebody to do the servers and do everything that we promised, and that fell through. They now said we're not going to do it. If you bought physical copies of it, and it was an online, let's say it was online only, if you bought physical copies, what are you going to do? You're going to get refunds? No, you've already bought it, you already own the property, and now it's not going to live up to what they said it would. Right? Now you've only got whatever else is left in there. In the instance of, let's say, the ebook or whatever, that they face some legal issues, and they could pull it back and they refunded. I would say in digital distribution, you can expect more to make it right. Are you going to be upset that you didn't get the experience you wanted? Probably, but let's say in this instance you had Grand Theft Auto 5 online and this sort of thing went down. They go, sorry, we got to pull it back, refund. I think it's more likely to happen with digital.
The big thing I'm going to tell you about the 1984 pullback, the big issue there was some people owned the book for the sake of school and making notes in. You can highlight an ebook. So when they pulled it back, you didn't lose your highlights, but whatever copy you had was no longer that copy. Your highlights were useless. They made no sense because what you knew as page 15 in your copy that got pulled back is now page 17 because the new copy is formatted differently or has a different layout.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, you may have gotten a replacement, but the things you attach to it. So if the game stops working, all this DLC you've paid good money for.
Say your game save or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
your save game stops working. Or
This is a great example where laws have not caught up with technology.
Yeah.
The honest to God, need a law that gives digital ownership the same value as physical ownership. Because right now, your song on iTunes is not yours.
it's a license.
It's a
not
license, basically. Yeah.
Technically, a CD is not really yours either, really. I mean, if you look, the CD you own, but the song itself on
Well,
the
you don't
CD,
have the right. You don't have the
own.
right to go
Redistribute.
off and
Yeah.
redistribute the song.
Yeah.
But however, that copy
Yeah.
exists for use for your usage as much as you want. And that needs to happen digitally as well, so that we're not in this position where basically we're all just subscribers at the mercy of the service we subscribe to. We actually have some level of ownership over the things that we're purchasing from these people. You should own every game that you purchase on Steam. You should own it.
Yeah.
And even if you haven't, if you want to download a copy and get the key, you should be able to do that and then keep it forever.
I would say that is true, but for instance, like a CD copy of Mech Warrior 2 or whatever that I own, technically I don't own Mech Warrior 2. I own the CD or whatever I have the CD, but I don't own the license to the software.
You don't own
you don't own
the
the
distribution license, but you own a copy of that game that you can use however you see fit, and it can't be taken away from you.
Yeah. You can install it on every computer you ever build in your entire life that will support playing it, versus you installed it on one computer, your license has been used. If you'd like to install it on another computer, you have to go through this arduous process to transfer your license to this one computer, and it won't ever work on this computer again unless you transfer your license.
You said BioShock earlier in one of our shorts.
No. I played that on an Xbox, so that's
okay.
not inferior.
But no. But BioShock, for instance, the first one, they did the same thing. They had an activation that you had to connect to a server to activate it when you first got it.
It was like MAC address tied or something?
Yeah, it was MAC. Well, you had to activate it, and you had a limited number of activations on your computer for your license.
Right.
And you had to, like, when you uninstalled it, you had to, like, deactivate your license. It was the first one that I remember ever having that DRM for.
Huh.
And, yeah, that was, I mean, for instance, you wouldn't have been able to install
Did you get a headache from that? I'm just trolling you, Josh.
But yeah, I mean, you had that with Windows XP, where XP can only be, reactivated so many times.
Right.
And then, I'm sorry, you've changed your video card too many times. You now
or
need to call
Vista,
Microsoft.
I think, was the first one that
One
did
of them
that,
did it, yeah.
Which is why
Whichever
Vista's-
one did that, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, that I think that's an inherent problem with the way we look at that digital licensing too. Is that companies are trying to make it so that you can only buy one license, and that's that one license you own and can be installed once. And this is like what
In their defense, if all of us wanted to play Mech Warrior 2, we would all just take your copy and install it and walk away.
And this is
that's
why
what
they
they're
do that.
That's what they're trying to limit. But the problem is that that's solving a problem that's existed since the beginning of time, because your copy, your hard copy of 1984, we could all read. Your record of the best of David Cassidy, we could all listen to. I don't know why we would, Nate. I don't know why you have that, but no judging. So, but the
troll is in the dungeon.
The point being is that they're trying to find ways to basically sell more copies by preventing sharing, when what they really should be concerned with is simply making sure that their consumers have the best experience possible,
right?
And then they'll sell more copies naturally.
Exactly.
It is kind of a physical versus digital issue, because before you had the LP, you had cassette tapes, you had CDs, so you always had an inferior version that you could kind of backtrack to, but it was still inferior. So you could put your CD on a tape, but it sounded like a friggin' tape. Now that it's digital, the copy sounds exactly the same no matter where you put it. So yeah, it is kind of a pain in the butt that with the jump to everything being digital, you kind of have to find a new way to prevent
and not be anti-consumer, because God, companies are so anti-consumer these days.
Right.
Like they just think everybody's out to get them, which the piracy in the past has kind of proven it.
I mean, I have an issue, because as much as I like free music, it is not right. I mean, I would really like to pay
unless it's
for
Creed,
it, but it's.
And then why are you
Creed
downloading it in the first place?
Creed isn't music.
Gooby, stop! Gooby, stop!
So this is an issue we have, is that technology has made it so easy to steal.
No, you're right. I mean, because everything is digital.
All right, so what if let's look at the digital distribution from the console standpoint.
Okay.
Specifically, let's use Microsoft model, because I'm not entirely sure how the Steam model handles multiple computers. I mean, it might work out the same way.
I'll handle it.
But what about Steam?
Oh, I'll handle it.
Whoa. Okay, so how it works now is if you buy a digital license for whatever game, the big issue that really stops me from just going out and buying absolutely every game digital is that if it ever disappears off the cloud server and I needed space on my local hard drive and I delete it,
Never getting it back.
right. If they go, it's too old. We don't have the, whatever for it, or there is not enough demand for us to keep it on our servers. It's hogging bandwidth because it's the size of a Blu-ray or whatever.
I believe there's live arcade games that had that exact same problem.
They might, but what I would be totally okay with is the next gen, or at least Microsoft is allowing you to use USB hard drives. And it's not just a specific list. You can use whatever you want, but USB hard drives for backups.
Yep.
It's not clear whether you can fully transfer your digital licenses, but I know if you have a USB thumb drive that is compatible with the Xbox 360, you can transfer whole games over. So even if they do disappear, I've got them. So it kind of works that way now. And so I'm a little okay with that. I can kind of make a hard backup. It is a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
because you have to do storage.
I've done that. I've backed up DLC onto an external hard drive just in case,
Right. But if they did a method like that so that you can say, hey, these are my favorite games or whatever, I want to make sure I don't ever lose these. And I need space off my main hard drive, so I'm going to delete them, remove them, or whatever. I think that would ease some fears. But we're a little bit off topic now from... not that I had any illusions of staying on topic this episode, but...
All right.
Well, go ahead, make your point.
Oh, I was going to say... I think it's also that there's such a glut of games that we have now. Like, we have so much more available that they become more throwaway experiences. In a way, like, you play it, and, like, when's the last time you go back and replay a game a whole bunch from, like, this generation that you feel like you need to replay it over and over versus, like, I have...
I guess it depends on what you find over and over. I mean, I just beat GTA 5 twice.
Oh.
I've played Skyrim for, like, probably 300-plus hours.
Yeah, but that's that one playthrough, though, right?
Times.
I think I see where you're going. Like, the BioShock DLC, Minerva's Den for the original BioShock. When was the last time anybody played that? So if they took it off and you don't have a copy of it anymore, you bought it. If you didn't back it up, sucks to be you.
Yeah, sucks to be you. But whether or not you would actually go back and play it, like, how big of a risk is that to you? Like, to me, I'm like, when's the next time?
Like, I lost it. I wasn't playing it anyway. So. Yeah.
It's just a
thought.
but
that is an issue.
It's not right, but it's
for DLC. If I've paid for it, I expect it to be available.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
So I mean,
because I paid for it.
Right, because I paid for it exactly. And again, I think this is where.
What if you could make a backup though? Would you be more okay with it if you can make backups of it? So even if they got rid of it off their servers. Or let's say, hey, we see that you bought the license for, I don't know, Prince of Persia, whatever, and this game is so old, we're not going to keep it on our servers anymore. Yeah, whatever. And so they notified you, hey, make a backup of this, or, we're getting rid of it off the cloud so you won't be able to download it again.
It's interesting.
What if zombies came out and stopped?
What about collector's editions?
If who's this disembodied voice?
I don't know.
We're getting like our producer for the first time ever. It's the fifth man in the podcast.
No, but like,
no, but seriously, think say 20 years from now, and my children want to play a game that I happen to have some DLC for,
and they're gonna look at you and go, "You have to use your hands." It's a baby's game.
Well, exactly. But the point being is that they get on there, and there's some backwards compatibility theoretically, let's say, and they want to play Skyrim with all the DLC.
It'll be emulated.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying is that
It'll be available
do I have to rebuy all these copies since
Right.
I
You have to buy
have
an
technically
emulated copy.
paid
You
for
have
it?
to rebuy the HD copy of the game you already own.
Probably.
Exactly.
Probably.
I mean, we're in this. I mean, hell, freaking Nintendo's been doing that for years, right? So
How many copies of Zelda can you buy?
How many
Exactly.
copies of Mario has everybody bought?
I can only buy one copy of
See?
Zelda because that whole series sucks donkey dong.
Oh, come on, stop.
Wow.
Come on.
I think at that point we have to stop there.
I'm just trolling.
that's-
I'm just
the
trolling.
internet has shut down.
No, you're just being an asshole. All right, guys. Well, I think that pretty much does it for us on episode 6.
Staughton, do you want to close the podcast? I know. Oh no! Wait, you hosted this one, so you're good to close it. Okay. Trolling.
If you lean forward, I'll pull that knife from your back, Ryan.
All right, guys. Well, I know.
I just want to tell you, you're doing a great job.
I'm just going to ignore Chris at this point. Nodules. So you're going to see the shorts next week, and the shorts, he's actually touching. You're going to see the shorts.
You're going to see
and
Ryan's
the,
shorts.
The tangents
And
are
by
ridiculous.
shorts, we mean penis.
What?
Like
So
us on Facebook.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're done.
Like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Fairly Awesome Podcast. On Twitter @FAPcast. Until next time,
I'm
stay
glad
calm
we were able to remain mostly on topic for the majority of the podcast.
and not talk over the host. Yeah.
You're hosting? Because
Oh, Jesus.
it was.
That's it. We're out.
Nothing's wrong with that unless you're presenting yourself as Mr. Wizard. Damn it.
I assumed he had magic.
Yeah.
Science is not magic.
I'm sorry. Beekman's World for Life. Don't even act like you don't know who fucking Beekman was.
I know Beekman,
okay.
but I was
Everyone knows who
expecting
Beekman's
I was expecting these to be like here when you took that sip.
You mean...
Oh my. I'm thinking.
Fucking Beekman's World.